everybody, and welcome to the Pilots and Drones podcast. That's right, I am your host, the coach, Kent Nerhus. We're in the house, the Drone Champ Studios, right here in beautiful Southern California. And today's topic should have been the one that we probably started with on our first podcast: how to get started in drones. Right? That's always the number one question people ask me is, hey, Kent, how do I get started in drones? Second question, how to make money in drones? Third question, how high does it fly? Blah, blah, blah. We all know that. But the thing is drones, it's a weird situation. You don't even need a drone to own a drone company or be involved in the drone space. And what do I mean by that? One, you could be a drone broker. You could be somebody who's in an industry, say construction, for example, and you know a bunch of people in the construction world. You know a bunch of contractors. They have a bunch of sites all over the place, and you know a bunch of drone pilots. So you're going to hire those drone pilots and connect them with the contractors. You're going to set the fee in the middle, and that's called a brokerage. That was the first business model of pilots and drones productions. That's why it's named Pilots and Drones, because we were the place to get pilots and drones. Unfortunately, that does not work so well with SEO. You just type in pilots and drones online, and it doesn't really help. So we went to Pilots and Drones Productions, and then that helps people find us a little bit better. But again, yes, you do not need to own a drone to get into the drone industry. You can write about the drone industry. You can critique it. You could be a writer. You could write a blog without ever even flying a drone. You could say why drones are bad. You could say why drones are good. Either way, you still don't need a drone. You can review tech, things like that, all without ever even having to fly a drone. Secondly, you could buy a drone, but what's the biggest question, right? Which drone do I buy? How do I get started? Now, that depends. Here is the key to getting started in the drone industry. Why? Why do you want to be here? Why do you want to get started in the drone industry? You want to be cool and fly drones and have everybody, clap for you and you get cloud online and all that kind of stuff? Are you a techie, an engineer, and you want to get involved in it, and you really like the soldering and the software side and everything like that? Are you a business person and you see that there's an opportunity to be captured, and you can capture these business opportunities with drones in order for you to be able to make some money? There's all different types of things. So how do you get started? Number one, the way I always say, start small, start indoors, and start small. Okay, Amazon, Walmart, all of them, they have tiny drones, and they're ducted. That means they have something around the blade that protects it. Now, why do you want something like that? Number one, to avoid injury. That way you don't get whacked in the finger and now you hate drones forever. Two, you don't whack somebody else, right? You're flying around, you're going to hit something, hit somebody. An open prop, it can do some damage, not particularly crazy with these smaller drones, but it will hurt. Might give you a good scrape. Unfortunately, you don't want to fly them around kids and stuff when they're open prop and things like that. So there's some companies out there, they make some smaller drones and things like that. There are also some other trainer drones that we've reviewed. You can go back to our podcast and other videos on YouTube and check those out. And that way you can kind of get a feeling for it. But again, start small. Start cheap. You're going to crash. You're going to break it. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many people have come into my repair shop with a $1,500 5-inch, FPV setup and they say, "Oh, I need you to connect this because I'm going to go fly this afternoon." No, no, no. That's a big no-no. Okay, especially with FPV, right? FPV is not DJI style. It's not uh, GPS hold drone. So, if you're getting started in FPV or GPS hold drones, you're gonna have to start small, right? Where if you go FPV, you got to get 65 millimeter, brushed or brushless, start indoors, and you'll see people whacking stuff around. I've heard it from everybody. Oh, my 7-year-old or 8-year-old, they fly 5 inch. I find it a lot easier. I find it a lot more stable. Whatever else. No, in my opinion, no. Why? Because you're gonna crash, you're gonna whack something. Number one, the parts are gonna be more in that 5 inch or the 3 inch, right? And two, outdoors, there's a lot more problems that can be had, right? Your drone can fly off into the forest, it can hit the water, and it's gone, right? You're indoors, you're in a living room or something like that. You hit the wall or whatever, it's not gonna be that big of a problem. You might scratch the wall, get some paint or whatever. It can be tough. I know some people live in apartments. I live in an apartment myself. Um, I lived in a studio apartment, and I still practice my drum. And some people practice them in rooms. And it can get that small. Again, why do you want to do it? How bad do you want it? Some people use it as a coping mechanism to handle mental stress and things like that. Again, other people use it as a hobby, recreation, a way to create community. And then other people use it as a business to make money, things like that. And then other people just want to go out and fly on their own, all by themselves. All are fine. Any which way you do it, you're going to be fine in the way you do it. So again, avoid those expensive mistakes and start small. You can hit up Drone Champs. We will teach you all different kinds of stuff. And we even have a $40 1-hour session where you can ask us all the questions underneath the sun about how to get started in drones, which is the right drone. And then we also have some used drones that we sell, tiny whoops, in order for you to get started. Because we're all about getting you started and getting you educated on how to fly these drones and how to break into the industry. Now, so here's the way it works: is there is a drone industry, but you don't really break into that industry because the drone is a service that you're going to provide for other people. So the question is what does your customer want, right? You just fly the drone. The customer has all the answers. So if you're trying to break into the industry, the drone industry, all you got to do is buy a drone and you're in it. Now, how do you make money? Part 107, insurance, uh, uh, getting the client deliverables, what's going on, right? So again, let's go back to our construction situation. How are you going to break into that? So you know a bunch of people that have construction sites. They say, hey, I want you to come by twice a month to come take a picture of my job site on Fridays because we have some investors that are out of the country and we want to show them what we're doing progressively. So you get that contract. You're not really right. You're not breaking into the drone industry. You're breaking into the construction industry using a drone. And it's the same thing with the movies, right? You're breaking into the movie industry using a drone. You're breaking into the aviation industry using a drone. It's not you're breaking into the drone industry. Breaking into the drone industry is, again, you buy a drone or you start selling services or something like that. You're already in it. You know what I mean? There's to break into the drone industry in that type of question, you would kind of basically make your own repair shop or you would sell drones. That would be the industry, the drone industry itself. Or maybe you would sell some parts or something like that. That's the drone industry itself. But mainly what drone people try to do is you get the drone and then you're trying to break into another industry using the drone. And that's really the best way to do it out there. And it might be, it's asked me to do some controversial hot takes out here. I mean, I don't know what would be controversial with drones and hot takes. But we might get there, right? I don't know if I'm going to say any controversial stuff or any hot takes or anything like that, but we might get to that. So how I got started, right? How did I get started in the drone industry? That's what everybody asks. How did you get started, Coach? How did you get in there? Um, it was a long time ago. I guess it's I don't know, a long time ago, but 13 years ago. We're in 2016 right now. So we're back in 2013. I went to a tech meetup. I had met a business partner that we were entering another venture in, and he had brought to my attention drones and this commercial world of drones that was going to start emerging um, pretty soon. And I was like, "Oh, drones! This, what are we gonna do? You know, those things just kind of fly in, the Middle East, and it's a military thing. We don't really do that stuff." But he brought a Department of Transportation uh, survey to me, and it was 32 pages out of 200 pages. So that was kind of a lot of pages for a 200-page report. And it showed how drones are going to be this exponential force, and they're going to be used in all types of things, in construction, police force, military, all types of stuff, and which did come true, but it didn't come true as fast as we all wanted it to, especially in the early days when Goldman Sachs came out with one of their reports. I believe it was, was it 2016 or 2018, 2017, in that area. It's still available online, and it's a Goldman Sachs report where they put out like all this projections of what was going to go on in the industry. It was going to be this $100 billion industry by now, within the next 10 years, 2025, 2026, 2028. But again, we got to remember those predictions aren't always accurate to the date, right? It's going to say 10 years. It could be a little sooner. It could be a little later. COVID knocked us off a little bit there, especially in the drone industry. That was a big hit for some of the drone industry out there, especially FPV racing. That really hit that industry hard. So some of the early crashes, I guess you could say, the problems were educating the customer on what a drone was. I mean, in the early days, you got to imagine, I'm walking around in 2015. I got my Mavic 3 Pro, and I'm going to lifeguard stations. I'm going to police departments. I'm going to these people saying, "Hey, I have this solution for you. Let's go get it." And they're saying, "Whoa, hold the horses there, big dog. Hold on, coach. Blow the whistle. We're going to throw the flag, pull you 10 yards back for holding, because we're not ready yet." Right? I was ready. Hey, we could do this. It's a camera in the air. We could find stuff. We could find people. We could find sharks. We could do this. We could help find criminals. I could help you do inspections of paintings, on the side of buildings and stuff like that. Cracks, windows, vignettes, architecture, all these types of things, these solutions that we could provide. And the problem was educating the customer. Then, even if you educated the customer, they had a boss, and then you had to educate the boss, and then so went up and up and up until you had to go all the way to the top because nobody had a budget for a drone. And they said, "Okay, let me go. I'm going to take a chance on it. Let's see if we get the data." And boom, there you go. And those were the early days. You could charge quite a bit of money back then, but it's gone down in some retrospects, up in others. So those were the kind of the hard learned lessons in the early days. Was just, and you still get it now, which is why we're doing this podcast, is you really just got to educate your customer on what they want. A customer, the other day, they wanted us to fly up a chimney, and, we just didn't make it, there was too much turbulence inside the chimney. It was only an 18 by 18 space. We tried everything. We tried flying a Neo up there. We tried flying our own FPV tiny loops, all that stuff, but it just didn't work. And what we were showing the customer is we were giving it a shot in the dark, but the limitations of the drones are there. And it really didn't work out. We didn't get the job, and we just kind of had to move on. So those are the things that you're going to come up with. It's going to be a tough situation. Things I wish I knew. Oh my gosh, what about now? Things I wish I knew. But things that I wish I knew back then, that I know now is, don't be so fast paced. I guess sometimes when you move fast, you move slow. When you move slow, you move fast. In those early days, I caught on quick. 2017, I'm the director of business development for a drone manufacturer, and we're making the first drone specifically made for first responders in the United States. And then you go out and you're trying to sell this to all these first responders who do have some DJI drones, but I'm coming at them with $32,000, $50,000, $70,000, $170,000 drones, and they're saying, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold it back there, Moses Jones. We want, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, the same stuff that they're buying with the DJI Mavics and things like that. That's what they wanted, but they didn't want the kind of Chinese label on it per se. But being one of the first advocates for American-made drones and American-made parts, and the all-American drone and all that kind of stuff out there at the time, there really wasn't the support for that. And you didn't have the big boys trickling down. Now, we got to remember, DJI does make a great product, but Lockheed Martin did come out with a police drone. It existed. Intel also did come out with a drone, but they didn't see the money in it. And they still don't. They don't see the money in it. They didn't see the money in it. I guess there's our first hot controversial take, is that the big boys don't see the money in the little drones, and that's why we don't have them, right? I mean, come on, you're talking about DJI. They're like, what, a $13, $14 billion company? Even no matter no matter what number you put on, you bring in these big boys, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, General Atomics, you're gonna squash a company just like that. You know what I mean? But those people don't see it as advantageous to produce these low-end commercial drones for their shareholders, right? Because then it's even with cars, right? The money's not in the cars, the money's in the repairs of the cars and the parts of the cars. So now you have to make this mass production situation where you have to fulfill your customers' needs with repairs, parts, all these kinds of things, troubleshooting, customer service at the flip of a hat, and you have to provide all this. And even DJI wasn't doing that, and to some retrospect, they still don't. So it's hard when you're manufacturing drones because there's a lot of moving of the goalposts from the customers, and that's why you get the all-famous line from Steve Jobs: "We tell the customer what they want; they don't know what they want." And that did happen to us in those early days when we were making that the police drone, the Nighthawk, the K2 Nighthawk. We were taking everything in from the customer, and we were saying, okay, well, we need to pivot, make this, we need to pivot, make that, instead of saying, you know what, we need to make this MVP, this minimal viable product, and we need to put this out to our customer, and then let them pay for these types of retrofits, because it went from laser guided landing systems and drop, magnetic drop stuff and thermals, and FLIR Duo Pros connecting to a helicopter, via video HD downlink, having these expensive HD video downlinks on them, all these things that weren't necessary to what our customer actually needed, which was just a camera in the sky. And they wanted all these other things, thermal and and all these things. And in reality, and then when you get it and give it to them, they say, "Oh, well, I haven't been flying." And you're like, "Well, wait a minute. You said this, and this. We got it. We got your procurement people to pay it. We got it all off. And then now here's your drone." And you say, "Oh, well, I'm going to fly my Mavic because that I haven't flown very much, and I know that one flies. And I fly with my buddies, and my buddies fly that one, so I know that one works. But I don't know your Nighthawk." And we're saying, "Yeah, well, you should try it out." "Oh, that's too big. That's too expensive. I don't want to crash a $35,000 drone. That's going to cost me my job. My commander is going to be like, dude, you crash that thing, get out of here, transfer it to, they're going to transfer you to another department." So those were kind of the bugaboos, I guess, in the beginning of the situation. Okay, so if you want to go down the cinematic path, That's a tough one too, right? Are you content creating and making your own stuff? Because that's what a drone can give you, right? Now it gives you the crane shots, you can chase your own truck, your bike, you can make things, you can do things that only a helicopter would do, right? Now you have this whole situation. It can even be used as a ground camera, right? You can place the drone on top of a cart or something, just sit it there. The audio is being pumped through something else, still giving you great video quality. So again, um, what are you using the drone for? That's the real question. What if okay? You want to get a cinema drone? Okay, well, you know, I could buy a Potesic Atom that shoots 4K. Now I'm a cinematic drone guy, right? I can get a tiny whoop, or sorry, a micro drone. We can't say whoop anymore. Did you? A micro drone, 65 millimeter, right? You get that bad boy. You put an O4 unit on it, right? DJI O4 unit. Now you're shooting digital. Right? Did you need to go up and buy a $10,000 Komodo and put that onto your $4,500 octocopter drone? Cinelifter? I don't know. Maybe either do you, right? But here's the thing. What does your customer want? And does your customer know what they want? Right? I've had customers say, oh, I need an FPV Komodo, blah, 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 blah. They want everything under the sun, right? Because they want to go to their boss, or they want to go to somebody else and say, oh, we're using a Komodo over the water over here in Santa Monica, right? But you're like, hey, man, you don't really need a drone that size for that. How about we get a Pavo and get that out there? And it shoots 4K. It's going to shoot you your 120 frames. It's going to give you everything you want, right? The quality, everything you need. Even post-production can help you out with that, right? But no. I want to tell people that I'm using this, and I'm doing that, I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And then what happens when the drone guy shows up and says, well, we don't need to use that. We're only going to use this one. They say, oh, well, I need you to use that. Well, hey, man, I'm flying that bad boy over the water like that. You ain't paying me enough for that today, right? So then you're going to get the 10 peso version. And that's what another thing, I guess, kind of some advice that I can give you if you want to enter the drone space, the drone services spaces. Regardless, you're going to have multiple drones, right? I worked construction for many, many years. I was a carpenter. You just don't have one hammer, right? You have your one hammer, it's your framing hammer. Then you got to have a finishing hammer for finish nails. Then you got to have a cabinet hammer. There's all types of hammers out there. You even have drywall hammer, right? You have your drywall hammer. If you're good enough, you slice that thing, boom, boom, boom. So it's going to be the same deal with drone, right? You're going to have a toolbox and everything like that. And you're going to have to be able to meet your customers' needs to the point where you might have to own a shop like myself, where, 13 years in the biz and, doing everything from search and rescue to cinematography, all this stuff. And then it just grows and grows and grows. You got to have a place to put all that stuff. If you were like me in a studio apartment with 18 drones and a fiance, thank goodness she stayed, right? Like, what are you going to do, right? What happens when you do get big? You have to grow with it. So, again, whether you get, an octocopter, an free fly Alta X with a huge Komodo dragon on it, or Komodo dragon, a Komodo camera on it, right? So let me explain to you this here, okay? Every year, we have shot for ESPN for 10 years, 11 years straight, right? We've shot for ESPN 11 years straight, okay? Same company, same video, same everything, right? We've never been told our shots are bad. We've worked with the truck, live, whole 9 yards, painting, from the editor, live, all that stuff, right? We've never used a octocopter with a Komodo dragon and this big $10,000 camera. Never, not once. And we've been on national TV multiple times. NBC, everything else. And I don't know what, where, I don't know. I understand that people are trying to basically set a precedent saying, okay, if I'm going to shoot for this live thing, national thing, then I'm going to have this big, impressive drone. And it's got to look impressive so I can charge a bunch of money. And people go, oh, well, yeah, hey, they got the van, they got the cart, the $1,500 metal cart. They got the big drone over there. They got the big orange launch pad. I mean, that's what we're paying for over here. And where in reality, if there was somebody who knew what they were talking about, you'd say, oh, no, I just need a Mavic. Give me a Mavic 4 Pro out here. It's going to give me the same thing. Right? So that's been one of the biggest problems that we've had in the drone industry, right? In the early days. The carpet bagging, the sandbagging, the fake it till you make it. That's the problem with drones. You cannot fake it until you make it, because you're going to get caught, right? This is a linear situation. A plus B has to equal C. This isn't a painting. This isn't like, oh, I think I can do this, or even framing, right? You got plumbers out there, you got framers out there. You say, oh yeah, I can do it. Next thing you show up, what? The wall's crooked. All of a sudden, the pipes are sticking out of your wall and going back into it. Hey, it works, right? Hey, the wall's up. The toilet flushes, right? But you're sitting there going, I don't think you know what you were doing. And you charged me an extra like 4 hours to do this, when the other guy who would do it professionally told me that all I needed was this one piece, and it should have been done like this long ago, right? Drones isn't any different. It's not any different. So that's one of the big keys, that you might see these big impressive drones out there. You might see these big thing. Oh, I need to get bigger, 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 right? No, I had a customer come in literally with a Cinelifter octocopter, and he's never flown a drone before in his life. So this guy, he's going out there, and he's going to put a $10,000 minimum camera on top of this drone. And I don't know if any of you have ever flown FPV. If you have, remember your early days. That thing was going to make it maybe 3 milliseconds, 7 tops milliseconds in the air before it went right. Again, you got to know, you got to educate yourself first. And that's why you got to start small. Start small with a little concert. Start small at your church or wherever else, at a birthday party. Start making the little videos and then grow your way to the top. Even if you are Mr. Media Man and I've been doing these shots for this 20, 30 years, blah, blah. No, drones is different. I've had those guys come into the shop. I've had conversations with people who have shot for NBC, CBS, Fox, 10, 20, 30 years. They say, oh man, this stuff's different. And it is. It's a whole different situation. There's laws. People want to talk to you. All different kinds of stuff, right? So you got to be able to capture it the best way you can with the education, and that's what you want to do. Even though I know you want to rush, you want to get here, but you got to start here. You're here, but you want to get here. You can't do this here. You got to chop, 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 chop. I'm going to be honest with you right now. You want to get good at FPV? Seriously, you want to be seriously good at FPV flying with the goggles and all that stuff? 2 years. 2 years. Mark my word. Anybody else out there? Okay, first 6 months, simulator, tiny loop, you get there. Next 6 months, 5-inch, everything. Okay, first year, you can fly around, do stuff, whatever. That next year, the second year, that's your professionalism year. That's a year you're figuring everything out. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. This limitation of this limitation of that. All these different things. Oh, it's not a good idea to fly around people like that. Oh, I need this type of drone. I need that type of drone. These kinds of things matter. And these types of things are extremely important. That's why Avadas are really good, right? Someone can grab an Avada in a couple months, boom, I can do an indoor shot or whatever. I can do an outdoor thing or something like that. But then what's happening now, right? When the customers want more and more and more, they want the tighter shots. They want more acceleration. They want things to look faster. Can't really do that with the Avatas. They're underpowered because they give you that long flight time, right? You're getting 12, 15, 20 minutes on some of those things. With your FPV drone, you're getting 3 to 5, right? So you got to be educated on it, right? You got to tell your customer exactly what it is that you can do if you're getting into that commercial space. So again, what do you got to do? You got to get that professional path going, right? You got to get started with Part 107, which you can start at Drone Champ. Shameless plug, $200. We'll get you in the classroom. We'll get you started. We'll get you passing that Part 107 class. Business opportunities, those are going to come from your closest allies. Remember that. They're going to come from your friends. They're going to come from your family. They're going to be the ones that trust you the most. That is where it all works out in the beginning. Is your mom, dad, cousin, sister, brother, real estate agent, right? Hey, I'll do a couple of those for free, this or that. It cost me $20, whatever else. Go to a car meetup. If you're part of a car club. If you're part of a motorcycle meetup. If you're part of a church group, anything like that. Anybody, anything. But do not do it to strangers, okay? Do not fly around strangers. There is etiquette, okay? We have to have etiquette when flying drones, okay? I understand. There's this popular thing, gorilla whooping, all this kind of stuff. All you guys are doing is you're going to make more rules for the rest of us, and you're doing things illegally, okay? Oh, FAA doesn't have permission indoors. Well, guess what? The place where you're flying does, okay? And then also, too, if you're filming somebody, you have to get it signed off by them because you're doing commercial work. If you're putting it on YouTube and you're getting putting it on Instagram and you're getting paid through sponsorships by that. That is commercial work. So if someone's in, you go and you think you're funny, you go inside a Sears in a mall and you fly around and that person goes and says, hey, you can't film me. They are 100% correct. Sears, you have to have a deal with Sears, a contract written that says you're allowed to fly in there that day. And that Sears has to post something in front of to all their customers saying you could be filmed by a drone today by this particular person. Because here's how it's going to work. You film somebody, they don't want to be filmed. They're going to sue Sears. Sears is now going to come back down and sue you in civil court, even if you're not doing a criminal act, which you are doing a criminal act because you're trespassing, because you're only supposed to be there to shop, right? Under the social contract, when you walk into the store, you're only there to patronage. You're only there to buy the products or ask questions on how to buy the products. That's it. You're not there to fly a drone. You're not there to sing a song. You're not there to do anything else, right? Unless the company allows you to do that. So if you're out of the social contract when you walk into the retail space and you start doing your gorilla whooping. So now what's going to happen is I'm telling you, somebody's going to step in. They're going to sue the company. The company's going to come down and sue the drone pilot civilly or press charges criminally. Because the thing is it could traumatize somebody. We don't know, right? We don't know. And we're in this hyper world of now. Somebody could be sensitive to it. And we have to respect that, right? You have to respect people's spaces, right? Oh, I'm in public. Oh, well, guess what? There's a thing. Number one rule, reckless flying, right? If you're flying around me with a tiny loop and I don't like it, I can turn you into the FAA for reckless flying, right? So there's a lot of rules that are still in there, even though you think that, oh, I'm indoors. No one can touch me. I'm indoors. No rules, no nothing. Well, guess what? Security can walk up to you. They can take your drone away and say, hey, no, until the police show up, the police can book it into evidence, and then they can release it to you later. And then the FAA, if it does go to the FAA, they're going to put it under review. But if it's indoors, you're going to go to court. You're going to go to civil court, or you're going to go to criminal court. One or the other. What if you hit somebody? If you hit me with your drone, you've just assaulted me. Even if it didn't leave a mark or nothing, right? Well, look, because the drone is an extension of your body, right? It's an extension of your arm, essentially, right? It could be considered that. So if I'm walking down the street and I push somebody, right, or if I tap somebody, that's assault, right? You can't touch somebody. Now, of course, there's context. Of course, there's context, right? If a drone slaps me on the shoulder and someone says, "Hey, I want to charge," blah, 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 the court can say, "Hey, why not? No harm, no foul." They need to go to re-education or something like that. But what if it hits you in the face, right? Now, all of a sudden, every time they walk into a retail space, they can be worried about a drone hitting them in the face, right? Which is viable, but we don't want to start that conversation, right? So let's don't do it, right? Let's be responsible. Let's do it in responsible areas. Let's ask permission if we need to, right? So let's do this all the right way so drones aren't constricted and people like them and we can use them more and show people more how we could do things. Because, for example, what if the mall that you go in, the people love that you're flying around in the mall, right? And you decide to give drone rides. You have 3 goggles lined up. You're charging $10 a goggle. You got 3 people. You're motoring it. Well, guess what? Somebody else, the mall owns another mall. Somebody else hits somebody else without permission. Now that mall closed all its property to drones. Now you've just lost out on money, possibly a livelihood. We gotta stay within the rules. Drones are new, still to this day. We have to be able to be responsible with it. That's the only way we're going to get anywhere in this situation. So again, do not fly too aggressively too soon. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But you want to walk into the water, right? Right? We want to walk into the water. We don't want to dive off the diving board. We don't go in the high dive and jump right off, right into the deep end. You want to walk into it. You want to tread water, have your little toes touch the bottom until they lift up and you're like floating and flying, right? It's the same thing with drones. You have to build the neurological pathways in your brain. This is something new. You've never done it before. So you're essentially an infant trying to walk. And you see that while you're trying to fly the drone. It wobbles and hits and do all that stuff. It looks like a little kid trying to gain its bearings, which is what you're trying to do. That's why adults, it's so frustrating when they start, because they're used to doing it right now, right away. I know I can walk, I can talk, I can move controllers. But again, you just got to build those things in your brain. That's how this stuff works. Again, we went over buying too much gear too soon. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Learn the regulations, and again, don't ignore the maintenance either. Right? You check the drone. Go to Drone Champs if you need to get repaired or something like that. You know what I mean? Now they want me to do the hot takes. So here we go. If I had $1,000 starting today, well, where would I go? You start with that Beta FPV Air 65. We're not sponsored. We've flown. I've been through a lot of different tiny whoops, micro drones. I've been through a lot before. We've held races. I've seen all kinds. Seen the Hummingbirds, seen the Air 65, seen the Mobulas. But the Air 65 is the best. Beta FPV has some of the best support there. Hummingbird, V2, and Mobula 8. I would probably go with the Hummingbird since it might be a little cheaper. But the Mobula 8, it's just shown that it's a solid drone. So no problem going with either one of those. But those would be the top 3 that I would start with. Is those whoops. The Air 65, it's a little tank. Get the race version. That way it's a little, armored up a little bit more. Can take the hits and things like that. But it just depends. Because with the Air 65, there are 2 different versions. There's the freestyle version, and then there's the racing version. Where the racing version, it doesn't blast out its power voltage, where the freestyle will, because you're not racing with anybody. You're not worried about channels too much when you're freestyling, because most of the time people freestyle alone. Senders Day, we're giving a shout out to Black Flame up there of the National Drone League, NorCali Night Herons. He's hosting Senders Day up there in the Bay Area. So if you are out there in the Bay Area, I believe it's in September. You can. It's a freestyle competition. It's the second one they're having. They had it about a year and a half ago on St. Patrick's Day, and they host it at I think it's a refinery, and you get to do a bunch of loops and stuff all around that stuff. So look it up. It's called Senders Day. Senders Day. Um, if you want to go simulator, I do like Velocidrome. That has some of the best uh, physics when it comes to real life flying and things like that. Tools, that's just you want to get your soldering deal, you want to get your soldering iron, you want to get your soldering pad, maybe a mobile soldering iron, solder, a bench. You got to have a place to work on these things, right? Because they're gonna break. Um, and then accessories, whatever you want to get. You want to get a box, if you want to get whatever else. If you want to get some Drone Champs accessories, you can look on our website, buy a T-shirt, a hat. We are going to be offering some more things, some more merchandise. So stay tuned for that. And just keep the expectations realistic. You know what I mean? You see the guy flying over the water at some island somewhere, and comes up to a boat, flies around it, and all that kind of stuff. You got to get there. You got to get there, right? It's like when you first start sports or whatever. You go out there, the older guy or older gal or whoever, they're out running, they're fast, they're hitting the ball, they're throwing the ball. You're like, man, how am I ever going to be able to do that? And then you just slowly start training and slowly start getting better. But the ones who want to be a pro now, the ones who want it now, you're never going to make it for a couple reasons. Number one, again, in this situation, you can't leapfrog, right? You can't leapfrog this situation. And number two is you don't get to enjoy the journey, right? That's kind of the whole thing. Basically, through my whole journey of 13 years, I've enjoyed the ride. I've done a lot of stuff, built drones, flown drones, worked on power lines, hiked all of central Northern California doing drones. I've met generals. I've talked in front of 500 executives at USC. I mean, there's a lot, but the thing is I've met a lot of people that they just say they want more, they want more, they want more, and the whole thing is they're missing the journey the whole time. You got to be like a sponge. You got to be in it. You got to be in the journey, and you have to enjoy it. It's gonna go up and down. No one goes like that. You gotta go up and down, right? You gotta have fun in the lows. At the same time, you have fun in the highs. It's the way it goes. Because here's the thing, it's all fun, right? If you're not in this for fun, if this is just a job, kudos to you. It's gonna be a tough road. It's a blue collar situation, and you're gonna chug it out. The rest of us who love it, never gonna work a day in our life, right? So we enjoy the journey that this provides, right? Ride the drone, be the drone, as one of my bosses told me, right? You got to be the drone. So that's my best advice to really any pilot out there is you got to be patient. You got to be. I know we don't want to be patient. This is the world of tech. I mean, we're at the forefront. There's drones. We want drone shows now. We want this. We want that. We want this. We want that. But who stops us? The government, right? They slow everything down. They pace it out. They want to do things their way. We want to do things our way, right? But they're there for a reason, right? We're there for a reason. We feel we can do whatever we want. We're in the sky. We can fly around. You can't stop. They have to govern the sky. So you don't end up with a flaming drone on top of somebody's roof, setting their house on fire, and nobody knows what happens. There's no consequences or anything. So that's really kind of the best advice that I could give you in drones is enjoy the journey. Start it, right? You got to take that first step. But, after a while, you're going to figure out that it's really hard. I mean, this is stuff is almost impossible, And you're going to find out that a lot of people want to hook their friends up. They might come to you for information, but they're gonna go hire their friend. They're gonna hire their brother. They're gonna hire this. Let me tell you, you might be a drone expert, but everybody's got a drone guy, right? Been in it 13 years. Like I said, shot for ESPN for 11 years straight, all this stuff. My phone ain't ringing off the hook from sports companies and production companies and all this kind of stuff. Because they want their guys to do it. They want their production company people to do it. Even look at the guys who are traveling, doing all the stuff all the time. They're not staying on one thing. They're hopping, boop, a boop, a boop, a boop, a boop, and then you start seeing them little by little by little by little, less gigs, less gigs, less gigs, because it's starting to localize, right? In the beginning, you had guys like myself, who were the central point, the node. We had the knowledge, so you had to travel. We had to travel to go to places. Now that knowledge is being leaked out more and more and more, as it should, and people are being localized about the situation. And they're saying, oh, well, rather flying Pilots and Drones Productions out from Southern California out to Philadelphia for the Eagles game. Oh, we got some guys in Philadelphia out here that, they'll provide the shots that we need. Now, is there going to be some hiccups and stuff like that in the beginning? Of course, for them. Absolutely. But it's a business, right? They're not looking for the best. Okay? That's obvious from a lot of these productions. They're looking for the most convenient at the cheapest rate. That's what they want. Now, if the person's good, great. That's fantastic. But again, in this world, especially in this system, capitalism, you give what you pay for, right? So, or you should. Some people, you might pay a bunch. You might get a burnt steak, right? So it's just reputation matters, all these kinds of things, and it's up to you to see how you want to navigate the system, right? There's a lot of people out there that cut corners. A lot of people that cut corners. You're going to get caught. Stay the lane. Keep your nose clean. That's the best advice I can give you in the drone industry. Follow the FAA regulations. If you need to get a permit, get a permit. Go to the drone zone. Fill things out. Talk to your customer. Let me tell you right now, the best flight you ever do is the one you don't take. Remember that. And what I mean by that is, you're going to get a phone call from somebody. Hey, I need you here now. Everything's rush. I need you now. Right? And it's this huge opportunity. And they need it at the cheapest rate, even free possibly. But man, you're gonna go fly at Staples Center in LA, and you've always wanted to do this, and you're gonna fly around the Lakers and everything like that. And then you get there and you're nervous. All of a sudden, you've never flown in front of 19,000 fans. All of a sudden, you're flying around the players and things, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. This is too much. I don't know if I can handle this. The shots aren't looking good. The director's starting to say stuff. I'm starting to hear people whisper. And then they say, oh, well, we'll call you. You don't call us. And you're like, right? Kiss of death. But you got your shot, right? And then maybe down the road you might get something else. But again, you can look at the top guys. And it's still, sometimes we're here, sometimes we're there, this or that. It's still tough. So you definitely got to throw on the armor. You got to have some very thick skin to be in the business. But hey, we need you. This business needs to grow. You might be the one who changes it for the rest of us. You never know. But the thing you do need to know is you need to get started. And the best place to get started is at Drone Champs. Visit us at thedronechamps.com, pilotsanddronesproductions.com. If you go through the Drone Champs situation, you could get hired by Pilots and Drones Productions, which has happened to our whole team. All the people who work for Pilots and Drones Productions, they've gone through essentially an internship course at Drone Champs, and then now we provide high quality services for our customers. So again, I'm happy that you're looking at this podcast. If you got to this point, congratulations. Most of the time, people don't even get this deep. But if you like the advice, click subscribe. I guess I'm supposed to say that. And follow us for more stuff. We have a ton of events coming up. We even have our own event August 7th at Golden West parking lot, Golden West College parking lot in Huntington Beach, California for the Foodie Fest. It will be our last one of the year, and it's going to be the Drone Bowl. So come on down and come check out the Drone Bowl. Where we will be having our drone race. And always, once again, we'll see you on the next drone flight.